So let's talk about private and public keys. Public keys are typically stored on the server side that you are trying to access from the client side, usually Windows or Linux, whichever your desktop or wherever you're sitting. That's where your private key is going to reside, and the public key is going to reside on servers or the routers and switches that you're going to be accessing. So in this example, we'll use Windows and we will access a router. Now, public key, private key basically encrypts your communication. In this case, in our example, we are using SSH. So we're going to use SSH key generator, PuttyGen, and then use Putty as a client to access that key. So we're going to generate the PuttyGen keys, and you can download Putty and PuttyGen free. It's a free software, SSH software. Let's do this. Again, public key and private key are used to encrypt the communication between client and server. Public key will always sit on the server side. In this case, we have routers. So before you do that, make sure you can access your router. So you just go ping your router. Yes, you can. So this is our first router that we have access to. And therefore, I'm going to go and generate key from PuttyGen. You can access Putty by, once you install Putty, you just type Putty and you'll see PuttyGen right there. You start that and you say generate. You're going to have to move the mouse randomly to generate a random key until it says the keys have been generated. So once it does that, there you go. You have a public key right here, public key right here, and then you have a private key. So you're going to say save my private key. You just say yes and go to the desktop and just say private key or whatever name you want to give. And then there you go, it popped up here. It's a private key that you're going to use on your Putty. And then this guy, this is a public key. What you're going to do, and this is going to be a little tricky, but pop up your Putty client, access your router, and see how it's prompting you for a user. You already provided the username, but you need to provide the password. So when you do a public-private key combination with SSH, it would not or should not prompt you for the password. So in the VOS router, you can drop to a bash shell by typing bash and then simply typing nano home VOS SSH. This is where the authorized keys are. So the public key is going to go, the public key that we generated right here, it's going to go in the VOS router, right? Here's the public key. Now we need to put this public key here in the SSH directory, .ssh directory. And it needs to be in the file called authorized keys. So every router has a different way of storing public keys. I'm just showing you the open source VOS router here. You drop into the bash shell, you do nano, it's an editor, and you go into home VOS SSH directory with the file name authorized keys. You're gonna pop, you're basically gonna have to do sudo here so that you get to save it. Public key gonna be saved here in this file. Let's do that. And now you're going to go here, copy the whole thing from SSH all the way to the last line, copy, right click, and it's saved. You just don't do anything, just say Control X, yes. So now if you do ls, you'll see that file is there. If you do more, you should see this file is saved. Look at the last line. It's 2021-7/25, which is today's date, and that's 7/7/21 2021 7/25, which is today's date. So it's matching up. Just make sure you copy the whole thing properly, just the beginning and the last part. It looks like it did. So now, once you have done that, you're gonna use Putty. Remember how it prompted us for the password? Now let's use Putty and VOS at 1111. Save it, and now let's go to save it as VOS 1. That's how you save it. There you go. Now you go to SSH, authorized, private keys, browse, you go to the desktop. Here it is. Open. Make sure you go back to the session and save it again. And then once you have that, open it. Boom. You see the difference? Before it prompted you for the password, now it simply went in with the username that you gave in the Putty client. Hope this helps.